Hello everyone and welcome back to Beyond the Apex. We're at the British Grand Prix now.
What a Grand Prix. Easily the best Grand Prix of the season.
Absolutely, and I think that's really nice to see.
Yeah.
Because, you know, the home of British motorsport, Silverstone, just wow.
Wow. I was watching with my family because I was down for the first time in what seemed like forever. And we were just gripped for the whole thing.
Yeah.
Whole thing.
Yeah.
And I mean, should we just kick straight into Red Bull?
Yeah.
I mean, they were not the quickest car this race weekend at all, but their strategy was exceptional.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I think Max drove really well.
He did well, yeah. Let's not deny that, yeah. Max, obviously, yeah. But Hannah Schmitz, just take a bow again, because it feels like we haven't spoke about her much, because Red Bull's just been at the top. Obviously, she was exceptional in 2021, and she's just been kind of running the strategy kind of invisibly, if anything. But it's race weekends like this where you see how brilliantly managed that team is, because they just know what to do.
Absolutely, and I think she, hats off to her for that, because you do see what impact she has on the team and the strategy at weekends like this where it's not gone so well.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's times like this when you have a brilliant strategic team, it makes a difference, because we saw with the likes of Ferrari and the likes of McLaren, the strategy team let us down, and that cost us the races. So brilliant from Red Bull. Obviously, they got P2 with Max. It was, as you kind of said in the last podcast, damage limitation, I think.
Yeah.
But Checo again crashing in Q1. Mini started at the back, and it just ruined his chances.
It ruined his chances because he's unlike Max. He can't then kind of make his way up through the field because he can't battle the likes of Haas or Racing Bulls.
No, he just can't get past them, and it just kind of he doesn't have that kind of the talent to do it at all. And there were multiple rumours this weekend about the details of Checo's contract, and it's kind of been leaked in a way that there are hints that there are performance clauses which could terminate the 1+1 contract that Checo currently has.
Well, we've said this, haven't we? It's fantastic that he's signed a contract or whatever, but that doesn't mean that halfway through a season, if he doesn't perform, it can't be terminated.
Absolutely, and the details on that are, apparently if he's more than 100 points behind Max by the Belgian Grand Prix, it can be terminated, and more than 5 positions behind Max, it can be terminated.
Wow.
He's currently P7 in the drivers, and he's currently 130 something points behind Max.
Wow.
I do not feel hopeful for Checo's contract, quite frankly, because at this point, when all the cars have kind of come together and they're very, very equal, and we'll talk about Merck, because they've joined the party as well, he is going to let the team down in the constructors. And I genuinely do think now, even though Red Bull's ahead right now, I think the constructors is between McLaren and Mercedes.
I think so, and like we said before, it is that driver pairing that really drives on, the constructors and the teams, and I just don't think Red Bull have got that.
No, they really don't. And I mean, we spoke about it in a previous podcasting. Obviously, the whole team's bonuses are measured on where they come in the constructors, and the fact that Checo has let them down and could be costing each mechanic or engineer thousands of pounds. The morale in that team is not going to be high with him in the team.
No, absolutely. And especially, like we said before, with both sides of the team, Max performing so well, Checo not even performing at all. It's just like the dynamic must be so weird to deal with. It must be
so strange. And what's a job for Christian Horner to kind of deal with, because there must be such a divide in that team. From obviously someone being on the podium every weekend to someone being at the lower ends or not in the points.
Yeah, absolutely. But we'll move on to Mercedes.
Oh my god, Mercedes are back.
They're back. They are back. I mean, Lewis winning.
Yeah, Lewis, for the first time in 2.5 years, won a Formula 1 race. And won the British Grand Prix for a record 9th time.
No, I can't. I mean, fair play, he cried, because that is just absolutely, like, I think when I saw it, I was like, my heart stopped.
It was beautiful for him, and obviously, I'm not the biggest Lewis fan, however, I was supporting him this weekend, because I wanted to see him come back like that, and it was just fantastic to watch. I mean, the amount of tears that were in the room when we were watching it, it was brilliant. And he said he's kind of never cried once he's won a race, but they just apparently streamed when he crossed the finish line, and it was just I think it was more the fact that it was on pace. They had the pace. They got a front row lockout at Silverstone. Obviously, the front three was all Brits, and they had the race, had the pace, and won.
I know, and I think like you said, even though you're not the biggest Lewis fan or whatever, I feel like as someone that's
as a Formula One fan,
you appreciate a British Formula One fan, you appreciate.
You just have to appreciate greatness, and it was fantastic to see. Silverstone erupted when he crossed the finish line, and I think it's just brilliant for England at the moment.
Yeah.
We need this,
Yeah. Especially with the football.
Oh my god, yeah, the football as well. Obviously, we're watching this. We're recording this just after the semi-final. England are through to the final. Oh, it's a brilliant time to be a Brit at the moment, especially with the good Festival of Speed coming up this weekend as well.
Incredible,
loving it. But yeah, and so easy back. On to Ferrari gone. Their strategy let them down once again. I mean, I don't know why they stuck Charles out on the Inters during the tiny little rain kind of pour at the start. It didn't make sense to me. They did it with the likes of Sauber, which is when you know that it's not the right decision. And they just kind of didn't have the pace again. Charles qualified badly. I don't think he got in Q3. I think he was P11. And it's just the fall from the top for Ferrari.
Like you said, I mean, they've come from Monaco where they've been like top, and then it's like...
Yeah, it's just all gone. And I don't know where it's gone because they look so strong.
But then again, we must think... Everyone else is back, you know, McLaren and Mercedes are back, and that performance kind of boost in comparison to that of Ferrari maybe just doesn't look good. Maybe they are the same as what they were before, but the other teams are actually improving.
You always say this, it's so right. It's like if Ferrari have improved to here while the cars were here, and then the upgrades brought the other cars here, they haven't kind of dropped back. It's just everyone's gone ahead of them.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we say it all the time.
Yeah, and I mean, it was a good start from Sainz, it was a great start from Charles, and then the strategy didn't go his way again. But it just kind of all fell away. Yeah. And as it has done for Ferrari in the past 4 races now.
Yeah, and it's a shame. It is a shame. But we'll move on to McLaren.
We had great pace. We really did have great pace. And we were kind of in that kind of fight for pole. Lando actually bought his final lap. He looked in the running for pole. But in the race, we were running 1 and 2 in the rain. I mean, we had fantastic pace when it was in the rain, but our strategy let us down. And I do think the past couple of weekends, it actually kind of has let us down recently, and that is what has kind of cost us 3 race wins in a way.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a really important kind of thing to think about is McLaren have brought upgrades and they've worked and they've improved. However, the strategy and the improvements to the strategy has not improved to the same extent.
No, exactly. And that's why I think people have kind of said that, look, the car can win a championship, but can the team? I don't think so yet. And that's the improvements that we're going to have to make. Look, we haven't been in the running for a championship in over a decade and a half. And because of that, the personnel in the team hasn't really kind of improved at the same pace, as you said. And therefore, that's, I think, the next steps we need to take. Look, we've proved that we can make the fastest car. We have proved that. We now need to improve the team so that when we then have that fastest car, we can attack it.
I completely agree.
But obviously, great driving from Lando Oscar.
Yes,
I mean, they took the lead of the race. They were brilliant, and they kind of drove the best they could. And Lando beat himself up hugely after the race. I mean, he was in tears in the interview pen, which kind of says a lot because he got P3 at his home race, and yet it was a disaster for him, and that kind of shows where the team should be. But yeah, we could have won and we didn't.
Which is a shame. But we'll move on to Aston Martin.
Actually, quite good pace.
Yeah, I mean, in comparison to what we just said about Austria, it was good. It looked good in quality as well.
Yeah, and it's something that we kind of Aston Martin have on and off weekends, and obviously in Canada we saw them have a great weekend. Austria was horrific, and now they had a great pace. They had great pace. And they ended P7, P8, Stroll ahead of Alonso again, which is something we're actually kind of getting used to see, which is really strange. There's something that seems off with Alonso at the moment. And we saw it in Austria. The fact that he just went for a petulant move and it doesn't make sense at the moment. And something's rattled in that team.
I agree. And it's a bit strange at the moment, isn't it? But they did bring home the points.
They did, and those will be huge points for them because with the likes of Racing Bulls, with the likes of Haas actually having a really decent car now, I do think the Haas is a quicker car than the Aston Martin at the moment. They need to kind of get back on top of it because they're going to be kind of closing down the gap. But there has been rumours this weekend, actually fueled by Jeremy Clarkson on the grid walk. But obviously there's been extensive rumours that Adrian Newey is going to sign a contract with Aston Martin to become their head designer. And apparently, according to Jeremy Clarkson, Adrian Newey has been house hunting in Silverstone which obviously where Aston Martin is based. It's very interesting, and I do think, obviously, the huge rumours at the start of the season were that Adrian Newey was going to go to Ferrari, and I do think that obviously he is old now, he is close to retirement. He doesn't want to move all the way to Italy, learn a new language like Lewis is doing.
Yeah.
And Aston Martin feels like probably a good place.
I agree, and I think, Silverstone is, again, Silverstone, yes, house hunting in Silverstone would mean he kind of might go to Aston Martin, but that doesn't kind of rule out Brackley.
True, very true, and also probably doesn't rule out Williams as well.
No, or Wilson Keynes.
Yes, very true. So it's going to be interesting where he goes, if he goes at all. Obviously, he could just retire and be like, do you know what, I've had enough. He's a millionaire, so he doesn't need it.
No.
But I think he still just has that drive. That little drive. And that's never going to leave someone with motorsport. Someone who's been in motorsport like Adrian Newey for the past 5 decades. It's never going to leave, and he will always have that kind of tinker to go, do you know what, I want to stay in it.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree. But should we take a break and we'll get on to Alpine?
Right, so moving on to Alpine, it was a shame because they kind of did have the pace this weekend. However, Gasly had to take an engine penalty and then didn't even start the race. He came in on the formation lap.
Yeah.
And Ocon was in that kind of gaggle of cars that pitted with Charles and Bottas, I think, in the first rain shower, stick them onto Inters, which just didn't work. And then that kind of just screwed over his race because there wasn't a safety car that could bring him back, and he was just kind of running at the back.
Just running nowhere in that little gaggle of strategy failures.
Yes, absolute failures of strategy, and they're all come together in the same boat. But it's a shame because they are kind of on the up, and they're going to be trying to, I think, battle the Haas and the Racing Bulls. But with weekends like this, they really don't need that.
No, I agree. And I think coming from Austria, they had a strong weekend.
Yeah.
And coming to here,
it's a bit shaky. And I mean, it's as you kind of say, it's maybe they were doing well in Austria because Aston Martin have fallen back. So it's always that kind of balance.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting throughout the season, kind of where they kind of stake.
Yeah, no, I agree, absolutely. And then Williams.
Great result. Obviously, home Grand Prix, their livery was fantastic.
Oh, yeah, it was.
With the British Grand Prix, with the British flag, with all of the every single member of the team's name written on the car. I think it was fantastic. Cool. But points for Albon. And do you know what? Sargent was really close to points as well. Huge gap to Albon, still about 20 seconds. However, it's positive.
Absolutely, it is positive. I think, for the British Grand Prix, it feels good because it's the home Grand Prix.
Absolutely.
And it feels good to say good things about Williams rather than just no pace, pathetic weekend.
Yeah, because we've been saying that so often, and it's good to finally see that. Obviously, James Vowles has taken this as a long-term project, and little positives like this will keep the team going.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think a similar thing is talking about Racing Bulls, that was a good drive from Tsunoda to get points for them, Daniel. Yeah, nothing. It always feels like it's either one or the other. Yeah. It's either one or the other doing well. It's either Daniel or more than likely Tsunoda. And Tsunoda had a great drive, obviously in P10, Ricciardo was in P13. But in a race as changeable as that, where it was wet, dry, someone with a hot head like Tsunoda, to keep it cool, to stay calm, get the point. It was good. It was good, very good. And I think with them and Haas and the constructors now, they are getting closer. Absolutely. And it is going to get so close between them, I feel. I know. Obviously, we'll speak about Haas in a second, but it's going to be tight. Absolutely. And Sauber? No pace. Poor strategy. And that was basically it. They were in the gaggle of cars that obviously called for the intermediates, and it just went wrong. It wasn't the right call to make. And they were just kind of running at the back, and it was it was just a weekend to forget again, like every weekend. I think it's a season to forget. Yes, I think it's going to be seasons as well. Yeah, like you said, until Audi comes and takes them over. Yes, and I think that is when the kind of team is going to be completely revamped and changed, and it should be quite interesting. But obviously, finally, on to Haas. What a drive from Nico Hülkenberg. I mean, he's really living up to the name that we're giving him. We keep saying every weekend, Hülkenberg is doing so well, he's so well, and again, shows it perfectly. It shows why he is kind of held at that prestige. Obviously, he hasn't had a podium in his entire career, and he was kind of out of the sport in 2022. No one thought he was going to come back. Yeah. Everyone kind of plastered for why are Haas bringing back Hülkenberg in 2023. It didn't make sense. And then, since then, he's just shown why he is still that perfect driver. Absolutely. And I've seen people kind of calling for Red Bull to go, do you know what, we've got the money, screw it, let's buy out Hülkenberg's contract and stick him in the Red Bull. Because you know what, I think he would do a fantastic job. I do. Against Max. Obviously not
in terms of Checo.
Yeah, in terms of being their second driver in the team, I completely agree. Yeah, I mean, the upgrades that Haas have bought are clearly working.
And it's great to see as well, because obviously I think having Ikomatsu as that kind of engineering head of the team, instead of kind of using it as a marketing like Gunther did, etc., having that solely as an engineering and actually bringing the upgrades that's needed, it's working.
Absolutely. And I think we should go on to the biggest thing to talk about.
Ollie Behrman.
Confirmed for Haas,
I mean, the 18-year-old has done it. He's going to be 19 when he's driving for Haas. Another Brit on the grid, and it's going to be really interesting. And I think it's going to do wonders for him this season as well, because obviously he's been kind of driving for that drive in F2, and he's been panicking. And we saw this weekend actually that when the contract was finally confirmed, he had a great weekend in F2 as well.
Yeah.
Fantastic points. Obviously, Prema actually are on the up now. Obviously, with Kimi Antonelli winning, I think we should talk about that quickly. Obviously, because that was his first win of the season. It was a sprint race. However, he was like something. It was the drive was unbelievable because he was, I think, something like 8 seconds ahead in the wet of P2 with safety cars as well. He drew out like a second a lap in the final laps, and kind of showing why he deserves to be in that Mercedes next year. But obviously, Ollie Behrman confirmed to be the first rookie on the grid next year, and I cannot wait to see how he does.
I mean, 2025 is just going to be so interesting.
It's going to be unbelievable. Obviously, I really do think Ferrari will bring it back, but it looks like we're going to have like a four-way battle for the lead, and it's going to be brilliant.
Formula 1 is back!
Formula 1 is so back, and this weekend has proved it. Totality,
Absolutely.
But obviously, that is the triple header done. We've got a week break. Which is going to be good.
Well, it's not really, is it? Well, we've got London Prix.
London Prix,
Oh, next week.
No, that's next week. Yeah. So this weekend, we've got Goodwood. I'm going. It's always my best weekend of the year. I can't wait. And obviously, we've got the 20 years of Red Bull celebrations. So Max, Checo, Horner, Coulthard, Webber, all of them are going to be there. I can't wait. And then we're straight on to Hungary, which is going to be a really close weekend again, I think.
Yeah.
So let's go on to it. Thank you very much for watching.